Welcome to the Kaftan Communities team. We're pleased to have you join our over 55-year organization that gives thousands of people the very best housing. No wonder we're named one of the best property management companies of the year and best owners, not to mention our recent Best Places to Work awards. I'm Jeffrey Kaftan, our president. In the next few minutes, we're going to tell you all about us, our standing tall values, why we choose to own and manage people's homes, and our goal, which is to be the most respected, admired property management company in Detroit. FYI, we're not like many others who do it on the cheap to make a quick buck. We're in it to make a positive impact on the lives of our residents, our staff, our investors, and our community. Our founding father is my father, Mel Kaftan, the joyful, entrepreneurial, amazing, and hilarious architect of all of this. In a few minutes, he'll tell you all about us. I'll chime in about how we operate, our values, and our big, hairy, audacious goal. So sit back, enjoy, and soon I'm sure you will catch the Kaftan spirit too.
So Jeffrey, I know you have always wanted me to do a little video of my career, and I'm also proud of my career. So I guess I'll start with 56 years in the building business.
What do you think about that, 56 years in the business? I mean, did you think that you'd be 56 years?
I never thought it would be like this, and I'll tell you how I started. Very simple. I got out of high school. My father wanted me to go to college. I went for 6 months. I said, Dad, this isn't for me. I'm doing this for you. I can't do it. It's my life. I can't do what I want to do. He said, what do you want to do? I want to learn the building business. He said, what do you know about the building business? My father is a pharmacist, had a nice little drugstore, made a nice living. And my brother's a doctor, so he felt if I wasn't college educated, I'll never get anywhere. I said, Dad, here's what I know about the building business. Mr. Heckman lived down the block. I was friends with his daughter. Mr. Sarko lived in a big home in Palmer Woods. I was friends with his daughter. And Mr. Jaffa, his son, and I were close friends, and he was a big-time builder, developed lots and built. And he says, so what does that mean? I said, Dad, all three have the same thing in common. He says, what's that? Building business, Cadillac convertible, and a suntan in the winter. Why would I want to learn any other business? So he looked at me and I says, that's what I'm going to do. And then now I have my quest. So I went to Mr. Sarko. He was the most friendly of the three. And he took a liking to me. And so I told him what I want to do. And he says, well, I said, he says, you got to find a builder, but you don't want a young builder because they don't know what they're doing. And you don't want an older builder because he ain't got any time to teach you. What you really want is someone who are 35, 40 years old, been a little while, and that pay their bills. So we did some search and everything else, and I found out Stewart Homes, Irv Goldfarb and Max Schaefer used to build 100 homes a year in Livonia. I went out to see him, and I talked to him a little bit, and he says, okay, what's your experience? I says, Mr. Goldfarb, I don't have any experience. I want to learn the business. He says, well, how can I hire you? I says, I'm going to make it so simple for you. And no one ever offered you this. No employee, before or after. He says, what's that? I don't want to check. No money. You just got to teach me one thing every day. And I'll tell you, within 6 months, I will be running this whole development. If you think if I'm going to have to lay bricks, we're in trouble. Or do plumbing, we're in trouble. But scheduling and making sure the jobs come out right, you got the right man. So he says, it was Friday. He says, I'll talk to my partner. I said, Mr. Goldfarb, I'll be here Monday morning at 7:30. Something for nothing? I seem like a responsible individual. He smiled, and that's it. And that's how I got started.
Is that the first thing you did in business? What in entrepreneurship and business? What was the first thing?
Well, I was 10 years old. I went in the marble business. Now, I'm not talking marble tops. I'm talking playing marbles. And in those days, they didn't just do a circle and try to shoot them. They used to set up things, and you have to throw and hit it. And if you hit it, you get it. So my brother's 5 years older than me. he got some marbles, and then they played a little bit, and I don't know where he got them, but he brought me back a bag of marbles. He says, here, you got your start. So I went ahead and I looked around and saw what was happening, so I went ahead and I went to the dime store and bought a Boulder Puri. It's a big round clear thing. And I set it up. And I said, okay, I'll let everyone know. When lunchtime comes, I'm setting up a Boulder Puri. You know, so they had to stand, I had to make them stand back about 20, 25 feet. It's amazing. And I would sell, oh, by the way, I would sell them marbles. 4 marbles for a penny, 20 marbles for a nickel. I didn't give them any discount. I don't think, they were too young to know about that. They didn't know 20 for a nickel, that sounds good to me. Anyways, so, and I would sell the marbles, and then I'd say, okay, and I would hire 2 guys to work with me. So, and I said, when I say go, cover your face, because they're too far. They're gonna be throwing the marbles at us. Just cover your face.
What happens if they hit the Puri? They win the Puri.
If they hit it, they won it. But they couldn't hit it. They couldn't throw it 25 feet. And if they did, it bounced. And if they did, big deal. It was, you know. So no one ever hit it. So then they started throwing them, and then my guys would pick it up. I'd give them 5, 6 marbles each for helping me pick them up. And then I would sell marbles again, and I would say, we're setting up the Boulder Puri and a mini Puri after school. And we have marbles for sale. And that's what I do every day. I'd come home with I'd make about $1 a day, and I'd have more. I had so many marbles. So marbles was out, and then I gave them all to a cousin of mine, who I had, it's either 9 or 11, but it was a lot, of these big potato chip cans full of marbles. Some were Puris, some were Boulder Puris, some were regular marbles. Amazing. And I gave them away, and he blew them off. He didn't care.
After you started working for Stewart Homes,
Yeah.
Goldfarb, right?
Yeah.
What did you do? How'd you go get into business yourself, in the building business?
Well, I was there with him for about 2.5 years, and they were starting a new subdivision, and they said, you want to be 20%, you got to come up with $100,000. So I said to Irv, if my father's going to lend me $100,000, I don't need a 25% partner. I can be 100% partner. Well, I appreciate it, but no. I'm moving on myself. I bought some lots and started building little houses in the east side. The first one was, we saw some lots for sale off of DeQuinder and 8 Mile Road. 20 lots. And the guy wanted $10,000. So fine. So at the closing, he said to us, oh, you can build apartments there? Oh, no. He says, oh, no, it's zoned for apartments. You can build houses, but it's zoned for apartments. So my attorney, who's since passed away, Hank Baskin, he called his brother-in-law, who builds apartments, and he says, he knew we bought them for 10. He says, we'll give you 20. I said, no. I called Mr. Sarko. He said, it's worth at least $1,000 a lot. 30,000, that's the price. Otherwise, I have other guys that will buy them. Because that would give me a kitty to really start building houses, $30,000. So, and that was a lot of money. It's not like today. Let me give you an example. A Chevrolet convertible then was $3,000. So you can picture what $30,000 was worth then.
And how much did the house go for? The house you were selling?
Oh, $14,990 with Goldfarb. 1,200 square foot, full basement, 60-foot lot on a beautiful subdivision in Livonia. We sold that piece for $30,000, and then now we're in business. So we bought I think the first ones we bought was in Southfield off of 12 Mile Road, 4 lots. I think we paid $1,500 a lot, $6,000, and we built 4 houses. And it's a funny story. So the first guy, this guy, Tracy something, he buys a lot, and he puts in some extras and everything else. He wants everything perfect. Comes to the closing, he's $4,500 short. How do we close? You don't have the money. Well, I'll pay you back. Wait, it doesn't work that way. So he says, I have a Lincoln, a 3-year-old Lincoln 4-door. It was a cool car. He says, it's worth about $6,000, but let's call it even. So then that's how I got started in business. And basically what I realized is that if I can find the trades on the weekend for cash, I'll save a lot of money. So, cheaper than, because there'll be no bosses involved. And that's, I used to go around the subdivisions and look for carpenter crews and plumbing crews and everything else. And I would say the carpenter crew, I'm putting in 5 basements. It takes a crew a weekend of Saturday and Sunday to rough in one of those little houses. So I need I have as many crews you can get me. He said, I can get you 2 crews, so then maybe I'll get a third. I don't remember how I did it, but then they came back the next weekend to finish up the last couple basements. And the plumbers, they were union plumbers. They used to leave at 3:30. They drive over to my place. It's summer, it's light, and then I would just say, how much I owe you? I'll be back in the morning with the cash. And I paid them cash for everything. And so we were making a lot of money on a house. Gold Farbs were making $1,000, $1,500 a house, and I was building smaller houses, and we were making $5,000 a house. So the next year, we met some people at a football game that had 80 lots in Roseville. They were big-time guys. I went to see him at his office. It was Burton and Katzman. That was their company. They used to build a lot of houses, then they moved into a lot of big industrial. In fact, the sons still do a lot of industrial and office. So he says he wants $1,000 a lot and $25,000 down. And I said, Mr. Burton, Mr. Katzman, I got a better deal for you. He says, what's that? $1,200 a lot. I don't need anything down. You want $5,000 tops. But I'm buying all 80, but at the end of 6 months, if I haven't released 10 lots, you can take the whole deal away from me. So Mr. Katzman says, nah, we don't want that. And Mr. Burton said, Abe, that's how we started. Trust this kid. I think this guy knows what he's doing, and I like him, and we're going to do it. So we shook hands on a Friday. Saturday, I think it was on the weekend. We went by his office and signed the papers. I gave him the check. And Sunday, President Johnson made an announcement. As of that time on Sunday, he came out with a 235 program. FHA, nothing down. And it's low interest rate. And all of a sudden, we're selling houses all the time. We're just selling them. I told him you can only, and we raised our prices from $14,990. We were up to $18,990. And when the deal was all done, a little over a year, I go to Mr. Sarko. I said, Mr. Sarko, I got a problem. He says, what's your problem? We're going to make $500,000 over there. I'm going to have to pay so much taxes. What do I do? And he says, well, why do you think I build apartments? You build apartments and you can depreciate them. So that cuts your income tax down. Very good, I said. So how do I do that? Go find a piece of land. So we went out and I looked around. My partner, Jerry Gottlieb, close friend of mine, we were together in this. I should have mentioned his name earlier. And so we found this on Schoolcraft and Blackstone. There was a piece for a 30-unit building. I called Mr. Sarko. I told him. He says, okay. He called his architect. This is the size. You got a plan that size? You do? Because he built a lot of blocks like that. He said, fine. He gave me the plan. I looked at it. That's fine with me. And let me tell you the difference of how government makes everything so red tape today versus then. From the time I get my deposit, 90 days later, we started construction. We had our permits, our bank approval, and everything else. That's how it was.
What was the property like? Blackstone, right?
Oh, yeah.
What was it?
Oh, it was a 30-unit, all one bedroom, 2.5-story apartment building, and it was nice. What I like to do, I always like to step up a little. If of all the guys in the apartments, they were using plastic tile, linoleum on the floor, and maybe ceramic around the thing, and they'd have a wall-hung sink, not a vanity. I would put vanities in, mirrors in, a medicine cabinet on the side, and all ceramic tile. Look, first of all, I did that in the houses. Why wouldn't I do it for a property I own? The funny thing about it, the bank lent me more money than it cost. I said, this is pretty good. I like this. I'm picking up $150,000. Do you hear me? You know how much money that was then? Over and above my cost. And it's a borrow, so you don't pay tax on it. You just have to pay it back, okay? It's a loan. And so I said, Jerry, what we got to do is we got to build one apartment a year and houses. So Jerry was involved in the construction of the houses, and I took care of the apartments because we buy something close to the office so I could there in the morning, go to work, and then come back, you know, like that. But remember, just so you guys know, everyone listening, you can't catch a shooting star if you're not prepared for it. If you're in business, you got to be in business. Business is not a sideline deal, and because that's what's going to produce money for you and your family to live, let alone the employees.
Where was your first office?
My first office was on 8 Mile Road west of Greenfield, little office building, and we had a lower level. And it so happens the guy next door, his name was Marshall Wallace, he was an attorney and a nice guy. And so I says, well, it looks like you're going to be my attorney. You know real estate? Fine. Now, as we go to lunch later on, Mr. Wallace and myself and Jerry, maybe 6 months later, so we're talking about where he grew up on Pennington. So I lived on Pennington. I said, really, where'd you live? He's on the corner of Margarita. Well, I lived between Pickford and Margarita. It turns out the house my parents bought and we moved into when I was a kid was Marshall Wallace's friend's family house. Marshall used to sleep in my bedroom, believe it or not. What a small world.
Even before the 8 Mile office.
Oh, when I got married, started my business a week before, and my office was my nightstand. And I said, I can't put anything on the nightstand. I have to have my office. I have my files and stuff like that. That's where it was.
So how did the company grow?
I think what happens is, I love the business. It's so exciting to be out there in the morning with the trades and this, and every time there's a problem to figure it out. So I finished something. Once I bought a piece of land and once that project was under construction, I went out to look for another piece because I know when that's done, I got people, I got employees. What are they going to do? Stand around? I'm not going to let them go. I'm spending all this time training them. So I'd find the next one, and that's how it just kept on going. And then I used to build small ones that were easier, and then I started getting bigger. And then I say I should have been all bigger ones. And that's it. We just kept on building. And then finally, when Jeffrey came in our business, he had just got out of school, and I had his MBA. And that's when we had to do budgets. I never did budgets. I figured, whatever it costs, it costs. I knew what my houses cost. I knew what my buildings cost, but he means running the operation, each apartment project. I figured, hey, if it needs a new pool heater, what's the difference? It's in a budget or not, you got to replace it. So what do I care? I just knew, I could tell at the end of the month how much money was in the bank. I knew we were doing fine.
What about, so you're doing housing, you're doing apartments, but then you got into other types of construction.
Well, yeah, we built some office buildings. And we did a shopping center, and then we did a couple shopping centers for the bank. We got a fee. And you know what? Ed Rose and Sons, this is big time people. They have over 90,000 apartments around the country. They've got 5 jets going full time, flying people out to different states for zoning, for this, for that, superintendents, all that stuff. Big time company. But I fly planes, and so did Sheldon Rose. So we both were at the same FBO, the place where we kept our planes. So we'd go flying with him sometimes. Ted Jacobson's another builder, attorney builder. So I went with Sheldon one day. We were flying, went to Traverse City, have lunch. So he flew with his plane. And I said to him, you know, Sheldon, we're talking. I said, you buy a piece of land for 1,500 units, and you sell off the front, the commercial. What's the big deal? You have the plan, slap it up, and you have the rental. He says, that's what we used to do. You know what we found out? That's not our forte. I says, well, that's the reason I asked you. I got a shopping center. I got some other stuff. I said, I just never make any money with them. So he says, well, we sold them all. I walked in one day. I said, that's what I did. We got on the plane. We had lunch. I said, thank you. I'm going to take care of business. I went there. I started to bring them in. I said, look, I want these all sold. We'll pick a number. It don't have to be the biggest number. I want rid of them because we're doing a lousy job and it's taking too much time. We were renting a store for $1,200 a month. I'm renting an apartment for $1,200 a month. I don't have to hear nothing. They pay the rent and that's it. So this is the rule of money. People who borrow and don't pay back can't borrow from people again. People who borrow and pay back have the ability to walk back in head tall and ask if you have a problem. Remember that. That's how the world works. So I built that first one. I'm building the house and I got to look for a site. I found the site in Madison Heights, but I also was building a project in Berkeley. So that was a 20 unit and Madison Heights was 40. So I called up Mr. Goldfarb, my old boss, he's just the most fabulous man. He was just so smart and so nice. He was a great guy. Always had him and his brother, tremendous trust in me. So I called him up. I said, I saw the site for 40 units. I can't handle it all. So you want to be, you and Chuck are 50-50 and Jerry and I are 50-50. They said, fine, I need 40 grand. I said, come on, I'll show you the property. They said, Melvin, you know more about this than we do. We'll send you a check. We're busy. So for them, it was only $40,000 to them. So I said, great. And that was Chatsford. And what happened was, in between that and doing the next big project, which was Colony Park, Mr. Sarko and Mr. Rose and Mr. Heckman built bare bones type of stuff. They never. So when I would build up, they would say, buy the cheapest brick. What's the difference? They don't rent brick. And so I didn't like that. So I bought the corner at 12 Mile Road in Lasher. And I was the big partner, and then my brother and Mr. Goldfarb and both Goldfarb brothers. And I said, I want it to be nice. The brick's got to be nice. Landscaping's got to be nice. Hallway's got to be nice. Because let's face it. You got 16 units in a building. If you have nice wide halls, landscape nice, good looking carpet, nice looking ceiling, nice lighting, nice chandelier, what goes on in the apartments? I don't know what kind of furniture. They might have expensive furniture or cheap furniture. But when someone's coming to visit you at your house, it doesn't start in your door. It starts from the time they show up at the project, how they feel about you. It's like people say, dress for success. It doesn't make you a better person. It gets you in the door because you look better. And that's how, and as a matter of fact, in the city of Southfield, I went to them and I worked with them. I said, you guys don't have any kind of a landscape requirements. You should. Don't get crazy. Don't say 4-inch trees because the guys can't afford to plant that. But they can 1.5 inch and little smaller shrubs, but it all grows up. In 5 years from now, you'll see a whole difference. You got to start somewhere. The longest journey starts with the first step. And so they did that. That's what they worked on. I don't know if they've changed it since, but we've never had a problem. And so that was Colony Park. I wanted it to be right. And,
but you always say there's a philosophy about the Cadillacs.
Oh. So when I wanted to do that, I says, well, look, this is how I look at it. General Motors makes Chevys and makes Cadillacs. In those days, it used to be common knowledge, the cost of the construction between a Chevy and a Cadillac was only $500. What cost them a lot of money in the Cadillac is all the promotion, selling luxury, a lot of advertising. So that's what cost them. Chevys, you didn't have to do that. And I said, that's what I want to do. I want to take an apartment project, pretty landscaping, a little nicer brick, some nicer shutters, a nice hallway. That's my Cadillac. And it worked. Hunter's Ridge was on 11 in Lasher. I was on 12 in Lasher. That was a big project, a nice project. It was okay. So I stepped everything up, even in my unit. Everything more. It cost me a little more, not much. And I was getting $100 a month more than they were at Hunter's Ridge. It was new, it's fresh, and they liked it. And so pretty things you get paid back for.
So you took that along, and then as you got into the bigger properties like Westbury Village and Fox Point.
I had to be right, had to be nice, and I would fight everyone. I wanted to be a certain way. The other philosophy was I couldn't be there all day, every day. So we would have a plan, and we'd rough in one building. All the trades knew there's going to be some changes. You ain't going to be able to charge for those. You gave me a bid, and we understand, and your bid ain't that tight. I mean, it's one thing if I have to change them after you put them in. But the first building, we go around, make sure closets are the right size, everything else is the right size, bigger closets, and all the little things we had to get right. And then they drywall that unit. I walked through, it was fine, and then I didn't go back.
Yeah, tell me something about during all the growing years, some of the difficulties or challenges.
Let me tell you. How about I buy the Providence Towers? It's a 20-story high-rise. 12 stories are finished, marble on the outside, everything else. The units are kind of drywalled, most of them, but that's it, and the rough plumbing rough heating, electric. And above there was just steel. And the guy went bankrupt. Malcolm Leventon, a great custom builder. But he building this building like a custom, and he ran out of money. So I bought it for $300,000, okay? And I sold off the land behind for a second tower for $300,000. And I sold the outside elevator, because we weren't going above 12, for $50,000. I now have $50,000, and I own the building free and clear. But we couldn't finish it because the state put a moratorium on condos. They didn't state if it was conversions or not, and this was it was already up. And I couldn't get the state to budge. And interest rates went from 9% to 17% for mortgages. So a lot of those people just backed out. Some of them bought it, and they lowered the prices and everything else. And the finale is, we finished it all off. It came out beautiful, and I had 29 units left. So I saw it in Wall Street Journal, auction house in Chicago. They've been auctioning off these apartments and everything else, these condos. And I said, I called the guy, come on in. We made a deal. We went to the bank. We had 29 units. When you came to the auction, they would say, okay, we're auctioning off the first unit. The high bidder picks the unit he wants. You don't know what unit you're auctioning off, because if you wanted the second floor next to your apartment, which this guy, he used to be the chairman of the board of Scheller Globe, a big automotive parts business. He had the second floor, and he bought that. He wanted that unit for all his antiques. That was the first unit. That was the highest unit sold. We sold it for $146,000. Okay. We would have never got that kind of money. That would have been when the last one sold. That was so cool. So anyways, in an hour and 20 minutes, we sold all 29 units. Of course, I remember I owed the bank. I had sold about 23 units, and the guy from Michigan Bank comes, he's all excited. Yeah, we're paid off, we're paid off. I said, paid off, you're paid off. Meanwhile, I'm losing $1 million. But it's funny how if you do the right things, things come back at you. I mean, for me, my life has always been lucky. I have no idea why I went to a football game and ended up getting all those lots. Why all the things that all worked for me. That was Saturday. So Sunday, it was about 5 o'clock. I get a phone call from the chairman of the board of Manufacturers Bank. He said, you know who I am? I said, I've heard your name. I've never met you. He says, well, I was at the auction, and I was impressed. Most other builders, they don't know what to do, and everything else, they run bankruptcy attorneys and all that. You just handle the problem. He says, I like builders like that. I like businessmen like that. If you ever need anything, you let me know. I said, well, do you mean what you say? He says, absolutely. I said, as a matter of fact, I do. I have a piece of land on Franklin Road, a guaranteed winner, built 40 townhouses called Weatherstone Townhouses. Now we call it South, because I bought one later on to build on North. I need a construction loan for $400,000. He says, what are you doing Monday morning? I says, anything you want me to do. Be 7 o'clock at the Buell building. You'll mention my name. The guard will know. He'll take you up. I go to work early. I got up there around 7:15. We sat down. We had some coffee, had a donuts or two, whatever, and we're talking, and he wanted to know about me, and we talked and all that. And I showed him the plan. And I says, that's what I need, and I want to get it started. That's the only thing, it's tough, He said, okay, I'll let you know. I wasn't back to my office. That's like a 35-minute ride. I get a call from his secretary. I just want to let you know your loan's approved. Someone will call you when you want to close, whenever you want. Just bring in the proper paperwork, and we just have to have title and everything else, and you got the money. That's when things were tough, people couldn't get money. I got it. Then I built the Weatherstone South. I'll tell you what, another one I loved building was Covington Club, 14 in Middlebelt.
Why'd they fight you?
Too big and everything else, And I said, that's what they want. I mean, that's what people want. Come on, you want to make it nice. You make it like condos, but it's rentals. And that's always been a very good property. I tried to do that over on Middlebelt, which is now called Oak Brook, where my brother has a house. But the city fought me because I told them I was do rentals. Everyone get crazy. Oh, it's going to be junk of terrible things. I said, I'm building 2,500 square foot homes. How can it be junk for rent? And anyway, so we ended up selling condos there. We came out okay, not much. It wasn't that great, and I sold off the lots, but it would have been a great project. But my brother's got a nice home and a free lot.
So what about some other triumphs?
My two biggest triumphs is Jeff Kaftan and Lori Kaftan.
Well, there's a question here about how and why it became the family business.
I'll tell you why. Because, first of all, business is always talked in our house. We always talk about it, live it, and listen. My son, listen, he's around it, and he sees it, and it's exciting business. I mean, it's risky, but it's just business. And by the way, my father worked 12 hours a day, 6 days a week in his drugstore. My brother, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week as a doctor, and that's how we work. Because there's always something to do in the business. It's either a problem with a project, building a new one. There's always something to do, and I always like to trust my own eyes, because a lot of employees see it different, and not that they're wrong. It's just that I have a different vision when I see things, and this is how it goes. Especially in most business, but in our business for sure. If you have happy employees, you have happy tenants, or residents, call it, and then you have a happy owner. It doesn't go happy owner and the other two aren't happy. It doesn't work. At least it doesn't work for me.
Well, that takes me to our core values. So our core values are first, and the I for first is inspiring positivity. So I kind of view that as part of that happy employees, that whole thing about making sure that, look, we only have so many waking hours here,
right.
and we might as well have fun while we're doing it, and that trickles down and trickles through to our residents, and ultimately to our owners and our investors.
It's good you mentioned. We have some stuff we do ourselves, some stuff that being investors. I have partners for years, for 25, 30, 40 years. They love it. Because they always get checks. They always get checks. And one guy, Doc, said to a couple of friends of mine, do you know why I invest with Melvin? Because his ego is such that he will never let a property fail. Because that means he's the failure. He will never allow that.
Talking about the core values, so the F is firm but fair. So we have to say compassion but discipline, not a jerk but not a pushover, when it relates to our team members or our residents. Not being taken advantage of, but really doing the right thing for them.
Well, look that's my lifestyle. That's my life value. I'm going to tell you something. I have a lot of friends. If I like a person and their wife and they're nice people, I don't care if they're powerful or just working people. I mean, to me, it's people. I like people. So that's my basic life. And I'm one of the most fortunate person in the world to have such a great life, great family, great everything else that came from my parents, and make a great living. So our core values are my family's values. That's how it is, you know. I mean, we have an open door policy. Even residents get my cell phone number. I'm going to tell you a quick story. 2 quick stories, three that I always loved. We'll start with, I built a senior citizens over on Lasher, just north of 11, called Parkrest. 210 units, 2 buildings, 3-story with elevator. So down the block was a very Orthodox synagogue. So they come to us. We have a lot of people who'd like to live in your places, but they can't because you don't have a Shabbos elevator. Shabbos is Friday night, they call it Shabbat, Sabbath. I says, well, I don't even know anything about that. I call my elevator guy. He says, listen, they want to rent 10, 15 apartments. These people want to, but I don't have a Shabbos elevator. He starts laughing. Melvin, we build in New York. We've put in thousands of them. I said, what is it? It's a timer. So it's set so at 6 o'clock when sundown, from then till 6 o'clock Saturday night, every 15 minutes the elevator works, or if someone presses the button, it stops at all 3 floors. The reason why is those real religious people, they're not supposed to do any work. I don't know why pressing the buttons work, but they, religion, they got all kinds of stuff. Okay, so this lady, she's maybe about 30, 40 people moved in already in that first building. And she went downstairs to the card room and they're playing cards and everything else. And then when she went there and she pressed 3, she was on the 3rd floor. And the elevator stopped and she got off. But it got off on 2. She goes to her unit and the door's ajar. She opens it up. She comes running down screaming, I've been robbed, everything's gone. The stunks even stole your carpet. They went back up to her and we showed her. She was on the wrong floor. Oh, she was so relieved. But she was so relieved. She thought this robbed everything. Then there was a lady at Colony Park, Jewish lady, Mrs. Goldberg, never forget. So she calls me up, Mr. Kaftan. I've been here 7 years, yeah. I love my place. I just remodeled my place, wallpaper, this, that. The kitchen looks nice, but the floor, I hate the floor. I hate the floor. I says, you hate the floor? You lived it, so I hate it. I says, so Mrs. Goldberg, I assume you're Jewish. She says, yes. All right, I want you to stand up. She says, what is it about? Just listen to me. Okay, I'm standing. Raise your right hand. Swear in a Jewish Torah, you're not going to tell a person I'm giving you a new floor. I wouldn't tell a person. 3 days later, 3 women come walking to the office because my office was close by. I was on 11, not right by, I was on 11 and Lasher. They're right around the corner. How come Mrs. Goldberg gets a new floor and we don't? I says, do you hate your floor or you just want to get something? We don't like the floor. Okay, you're all Jewish? She didn't do what she's supposed to do. Do you swear in a Jewish? I wouldn't tell a person. I says, well, we'll find out if you will or not. I put it in, I never heard it anymore, but they got all floors too. And then the last one is, this is how I treat people. I have a rule. If a resident gets to me, unless it's something crazy, they usually get whatever they want. So, Covington Club, a lady, they live there 8.5 years. The wife hates the dishwasher because it's tough. It works. She hates the way it stacks. I hear that from my wife. I say to my wife, Jerry, how do you know how it stacks? We eat out every night. She don't cook. Her pots and pans still have the stickers on them. So he says, so he's upset. So he said, I'm going to call Mel Kaftan. They said, you call him. So he calls the office, and they tell me it's him. So I go, yeah, sir, what can I do for you? His name Mr. Green. I forget his name, but let's call it Mr. Green. And I said, so what can I do for you? He said, dishwasher. Oh, yeah. He said, could you hold on 1 second? I pull up his name. There 8.5 years, never. I says, okay, you have a problem with your dishwasher. She said, my wife hates the way it's stacked. I said, well, let me explain something to you. You've been there 8.5 years. I've never lost 1 penny rent in 8.5 years. So here's my offer. He said, what's that? I'll give you a new stove, new refrigerator, new microwave, new dishwasher, new hood fan. Are you playing with me? I said, Mr. Green, listen, let me tell you. You've been there 8.5 years. You're paying $3,000 a month rent. If you were thinking of moving, you wouldn't have called me. You'd have said, live with it. We're moving in a year. But you didn't. So you can have it. He said, I'll call my wife. I'll talk to my wife. I'll call you tomorrow. He was flabbergasted. He calls her back. Well, Mr. Kaftan, you're Jewish. I'm Jewish. So so you'll understand. No, she just wants in the dishwasher. She don't cook either. So I said, you go, make sure it's the standard size dishwasher. I don't want to be, I'm not ripping out cabinets for you. I don't care what the dishwasher, you can buy a $500 one, a $1,500. It doesn't make a difference to me because you're not going anywhere. You're going to be paying me $3,000 a month for many years. Why do I care? And by the way, whose dishwasher is it when you leave? Mine. Why wouldn't I do that? A lot of landlords don't think that way. Every year, for many years now, we have a Christmas party. It used to be smaller, maybe 30 people, but then we said, and then we had something for the other employees. Says, no. We got to have a nice party. So here's the deal. All employees are invited. They can bring spouses or a friend. You can't wear jeans. You got to wear slacks, a sport jacket. You don't have to wear a tie. But that's what you have to wear to come in. So, being a ham, me, who I don't want to play to an empty audience, every employee shows up gets $200 when they show up. So what schmuck's not going to show up to get $200, drinks, and a good meal and a little entertainment? For the last maybe 10 years, every 2 years, I take a tuxedo jacket and I send it to California. This lady, she puts a circle of lights with a K in the middle in the pockets, makes a bouquet out of material. It looks like a rose, and it puts a light in it. And they love it. And I walk in there, top hat and all that stuff, and have, first I come in regular. Then when they're finished eating, I go back and I change, and I come out. They dim the lights, the music's on, and I come out. And they roar. So now I have a problem. I call the lady in California. She makes jackets, she delights, she's always, that's her main business. That's probably 90% of her business. Well, when COVID came, they shut down. So when I called her, I says, well, it's coming over. I'd like to have to make a jacket. She's, Melvin, I'm 70. I retired because they're closed down, and I've been doing it for so many years. My husband and I, we put away good money, and we're done. So now I go to, my wife and I are in Turks and Caicos. I wanted to take her there. I used to fly my plane there years ago. And so we were in Turks and Caicos, and we're in the pool, and I meet this guy, Josh Abbott, and his wife. I talk to everyone, so I met everyone in the pool. But I met him, and he was a country western star. Not a big-time guy, but he's got about 6 albums out, and he's doing well. He plays about 80 gigs a year, so that does pretty well. It's more than one a week. So they're doing fine. And so I said, okay, I know what I want. I told them about the jacket, but they don't make those, so I said, who's a good country and western? I've been looking for a country western, someone special, to make a real cool jacket. So he's I don't know, and his wife says, there's only one man. Manuel Curvo, that's the only guy. That's the top guy. He does it for Johnny Cash, Elton John, all these different people, Beatles, this, that, all these different, all top guys. So I called him, and so his secretary says, well, he'll talk to you, but he's so busy. But go ahead, you talk to him. Well, I use my own charming self, and before I know it, it's the party and the $200. I gave him the whole spiel. He says, "Come on down." So we came down, and I looked at different jackets and stuff that they have, and and different styles. He's looking. Just show me the things you like. And any jacket you think there's something you like on it, just take it out. Show me the things you like. And at the same time, I want to look at fabrics, because I don't pick the fabric, you pick the fabric. I'll work with you on it. And so I said, well, either black or dark blue. That's what I'd like. He said, okay. And then he says, okay, I want to know more about you. Well, I mean, he says, because when I do a jacket, you pick the fabric, I'll see what you kind of like, I'll do the thing, and when you come to pick it up, if you don't like it, you don't have to take it. No problem. That's my rules. I'm 88 years old. I only do people I like, and I do what I think fits them. And if you don't like it, I don't want you to take it. So he says, I want to know more about you. I says, you want to know about me? I pulled out my business card. I says, this will tell you everything. He says, what do you mean? Well, what's it say? M. Kaftan, yeah. CEO, yeah. He says, what's HSG? High school graduate. He smiled, and that was it. We were buddies. And I called him back. I says, look, why don't you get the jacket ready, my jacket and Jerry's jacket ready on Thursday, so if there's any adjustments, you can make it. So Friday, I can take it home with me. He says, great idea. It was lovely. He's a great guy. So, also, my vision, and Jeffrey agrees with it, and most of my people agree with it, our property got to stand tall. Landscaping's not good. Hallway's got to look good. Everything's got to look good. And again, like I said, happy employees, happy residents, happy owner. That's the building, but that's the apartment business. I don't hear people knocking my company. People that rent, they all know if they're there, we don't fool with their security deposit, we don't do nothing. We're straight people. It's like you want your own house to be. And that's the deal. It's been a great life, and I plan on being around for a lot longer.
How do you stay healthy?
I think my mother's family ate healthier, but that I never did. And here I am, no aches, no pains, and I'm doing fine. I know my family was happy I lost the weight, but the happiest person when they heard I lost weight, the happiest was my tailor. He got to taking all my clothes.
Now that you got the Kaftan spirit, let's talk about our core values. The acronym is FIRST, because it's the first thing we do when hiring a new team member. The F is for firm but fair. The I is for inspiring positivity in all we do. The R is for being responsible and accountable. The S is for delivering superior experience. And the T is for living a truly healthy lifestyle. Our three uniques are those items that make us unique in our market. The acronym is SET. The S is for our sterling reputation for fairness. The E is for excellence, inside and out. And the T is for treating our customers like family. Our big, hairy, audacious goal is that long-term 10-year goal that we're focused on hitting. We plan to more than double our unit count to 5,000 units. We plan to expand our geographic market to another geographic location. And we plan to be the most respected, admired property management company in Detroit. Well, now you have it. The audacious Kaftan story from yesterday to today. Now we want to have you help us write the next chapter. It won't be boring. It will be rewarding. We may just reach new heights and have a fantastic time doing it. As they say in Latin, carpe diem, let's seize the moment.